Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee with Ken. I'm Ken Biberai, a managing director at Savills, a leading tenant advisory commercial real estate firm. We are in week 53 of social distancing as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And today, March 25th, is the 1-year anniversary of the series. Today in the news, President Biden will host his first news conference at the White House, and the total U.S. cases of the coronavirus hit 30 million. Today's topic is human capital, diversity, and inclusion at the Pentagon. We're joined by Bishop Garrison, the new senior advisor to the Secretary of Defense for Human Capital, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Great to see you, Bishop.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to be here, Ken.
And congrats on the new appointment. I mean, incredible, very exciting. Why don't you start at the top? I mean, this is a new role for you personally. Well, tell us about it.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here serving as pleasure president, supporting the Secretary of Defense and the Deputy Secretary. This is a new role, as you've mentioned, and one of the priorities, both from the White House and from this leadership team, is a focus on the workforce and a focus on diversity, equity, inclusion throughout everything that we do, and not just in matters of human capital. So, when I speak on this, I know a lot of your listeners out there are very familiar with the idea of the good order and discipline of military units, and the way I look at it right now, and the way I'm pushing a lot of our leaders throughout the building to think about this, is the health and readiness of the workforce. To me, that encompasses in that readiness piece the good order and discipline, but more holistically, we have an incredibly dynamic, thoughtful, and dedicated civilian service here as well. And our civilian component is in support of the military mission has been absolutely phenomenal for this department for its lifetime. So making sure that when we think through a lot of these workforce issues, that we're thinking holistically, how does it affect the uniformed services, but just as important, how does it affect the day-to-day of our civilian staff as well?
Fascinating. So tell us how you fit into the organization. Obviously, the Pentagon is a massive building and enterprise.
It's a little big.
It's a little big.
Yeah,
I think you have McDonald's in there, for goodness sakes. I mean, it's pretty massive, right? I mean, it's huge. Yeah. So, how does your role fit in? I mean, obviously, you're directly advising the secretary, but there's obviously existing personnel and efforts internally. So, how does it fit into the hierarchy? Just walk us through the kind of.
Sure, I see myself as a part of the connective tissue between the secretary's front office and the entirety of the building, to be quite frank. There are 4 senior advisors and multiple other special assistants to support this, both the secretary and the deputy, and we have varying portfolios. I know publicly folks know about a COVID, China task force, a climate task force, and then the human capital portfolio as well. So a part of my mission is to ensure that the intent and the direction of both the secretary and the deputy are fully realized and met. And at the same time, I'm going to the components, I'm going to the services and doing what I can to understand what their needs are, understand what the directions as they understand some of the executive orders coming out, the DOTIs, the memos, all of these different methods we have to transfer information and guidance, that I get an understanding of how they read them, how they understand it. And I take that information back and do everything I can to ensure that there's proper connectivity as we push forward with these missions that we have.
That's incredible. The timing of our conversation, I think, is quite fortuitous. The secretary himself was on 60 Minutes earlier this week talking about his own personal life experiences, about some efforts and disparity that exist currently in the military. What's the significance of Secretary Austin being the first African-American Secretary of Defense we've ever had?
Sure. And we also have our first confirmed a woman as the deputy secretary too, I want to point out. But for both of them, the breadth and depth of their lived experiences are incredible in terms of shaping the lens through which they view the world. And to understand what they've been to, what they've both experienced, and how that feeds right into their leadership and how they address the issues that they see today. And I think Secretary Austin was very frank and direct in a way that we typically don't see cabinet officials or leaders of his caliber speaking on his own experiences as a young Black man in the segregated South in Alabama, and going through through the ranks of the United States Military Academy and of the Army to be a four-star general. It's unheard of breadth of experience when you're talking about a leader in a position like this. And I think it comes at a historic moment for our country, at a pivotal point in which we're seeing a lot of public discourse around a lot of varying sensitive topics that really take a keen understanding of the intersection between community, government, and policy that is going to be necessary to see in a leader in order to bring us through this. So I am honored to be serving him and to be serving Deputy Secretary Hicks, who I've known for some years now and have had a complete and utter respect for her, but understanding what she's gone through as a woman that's been in defense for the entirety of her career, and just generally understanding what it's going to take to move the military, the department, and the country forward on a lot of these issues is outstanding.
So help us scope out the overall assessment of where we stand, right? Up until recently, I think the New York Times noted that literally, I think like 36 to 37 of the 41 leadership positions were held by white males, right? So yes. How do you think about just diversity at the top ranks? And I mean, 60 Minutes talked a little bit about this as well, and just like building that pipeline of talent and building lasting change that, it's not going to just change after an administration, right? That there's enough folks that are given equal access to opportunity to really realize their full potential and ability to serve. I mean, how do you what's the state of things today, like realistically, and then how do we get to where you want to go?
Well, I think you just pinged it yourself. This is about opportunity. This is about building out our talent pool and understanding that a lot of the issues that we continue to face are going to take innovative solutions. I can't stress that enough. The business world has already seen it. You've seen report after report from top institutions like Harvard Business, Yale Management, MIT, and others that express the idea that if you're going to have the best solutions, the best answers to the questions and problems facing your organizations, you need a very diverse group of talented leaders and staff that have the variety of experience. We talk about diversity of thought, but it's also diversity through lived experience to understand the world in different ways in order to engage these issues differently. So back to your initial question about this, I think everyone understands it takes time. You can't simply flip a switch and say, I now want 20 diverse generals in these 4-star generals in these positions tomorrow. That's not the way the system is designed to work, nor quite frankly, that's not the way it should work. We continue to strive to ensure that the most talented individuals are selected for these high caliber positions, but we have to look at, well, how are the pools of talent, our eligible pools being designed and built out? What is it that is taking place in all of these years prior to a decision to select someone as a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star that needs to take place in order to ensure that diverse candidates are getting the proper look and opportunities that they should be doing. No one is looking at attempting to promote anyone that is not deserving, but we know that there are plenty of deserving, talented people of color and more women out in the ranks, and we need to do a better job of making sure that they're identified early on in their careers and they matriculate through the system.
Yeah, especially when 40% of the armed forces are of minority descent.
Yeah,
I mean, the numbers are like staggering.
I think the numbers on the Army is roughly 1 in 5 people are Black, but when you look at the officer pool, you're looking at roughly about 13%. And when you look at the flag officer, the general officers, it takes a nosedive. So there's something that the leadership, I think, are going to continue to smartly and thoughtfully look at and have the services discuss more on, but it's going to take some time for us to understand where the issues actually lie and how you go about addressing them properly. In some degree, this is going to be about recruitment. It's going to be about retention, and it's going to be about how we mentor these individuals as well too.
So that's certainly one side of the coin, but you also come from a bit of a background focused on extremism. And January 6th was really a pivotal moment for our country, where not only do we all fully realize the threat of domestic terrorism, but the threat of white supremacy. And that's something that is deeply rooted across this country, unfortunately, and is still something that has ties with the military. How do you approach your role now in kind of addressing this head on, right? When you think about the workforce and some of the folks that may be in the military now that may be sympathetic to some of these kind of extremist views.
Well, there are a few ways that I'm looking at this. First and foremost, anyone affected and the lives lost on January 6th, my heart goes out to those families. I cannot stress that enough. It was an absolute horrific tragedy for this nation and for those individuals involved. So to your point, look, when we talk about extremism, we're talking about it in all forms. We're talking about anti-government. We're talking about potentially militia extremism out there. And we're talking about racially and ethnically motivated extremism. However that might look, it is a threat to, again, the health and readiness of the workforce. It chips away at morale. It chips away at the good order and discipline. And it's something that is an outsized problem, to be clear. The vast majority of everyone, the military service members and those civilian staff that support them do not fall in line with those types of ideology. They have served admirably, they've served bravely, and they continue to serve every day within the most, at times, arduous conditions. That said, we want to ensure that what they do, their workspaces are inclusive or welcoming or inviting, and are also safe. That even if we say that this is an outsized problem, we're talking about a total workforce of just under 3 million people. So even a fraction of a percent there is thousands of people too many. So that's where the focus of this is on. And we're doing all of this, ensuring that we're going to provide absolute protections to all those involved in terms of their constitutional rights. This is not about politics. This is about behavior at the end of the day. It's about ensuring that our current laws and policies are everyone falls within compliance for those, and that when they don't, proper and appropriate action takes place in order to adjust and address that deficiency. So at the end of the day, for me, and I've spoken directly with the secretary and the deputy ad nauseum about this. At the end of the day, this is about behavior, and it's about ensuring that we are both living, working, and fighting within the values that we hold dear here. And we're protecting ourselves and each other. And when individuals behave in a way that is outside of those parameters, that behavior is absolutely addressed.
So the U.S. military in general has been pretty progressive over the last few decades, right? With leading on racial issues, et cetera. But it's not dissimilar to any other organization, especially today, that's had to deal with trust issues, with cultural issues. And in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd, how do you think the rank and file members of the military are feeling? How has the last year been for the folks that you're serving now as a senior advisor to the secretary, and how do you kind of build and strengthen trust and also address some of these larger cultural issues that really need some real attention and focus in a more forward focused way?
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, Ken. I would say morale has taken a hit. These individuals have dealt with a lot, and they've been asked to continue to Charlie Mike to continue mission and try to do their absolute best under some of the most difficult circumstances. So it's not simply the upheaval in society that we saw post Breonna Taylor and George Floyd's tragic murders. I would say you're also we're also in the middle of a pandemic, the proportions of which we have not seen, and those individuals are dealing with a lot of the fallout, everything that anyone else in society would have to deal with, how it might affect your families, how it affects you personally. So they've definitely been dealing with a lot of tough times, and this leadership team is doing what it can to help level set and then to help rebuild that morale, that trust in leadership. We're trying to be as transparent as we can be and providing information when available and appropriate. We're dealing with everything from ensuring that everyone has ample opportunity to receive vaccines, to ensuring that they have trust and that the vaccine is safe and can work. And we're doing that, and everyone's moving out in an incredibly professional manner.
So part of your role related to workforce is, and you alluded to it, recruitment and retention. How do you think about that? I mean, give us the quick high level position that the Department of Defense is in. Or is it hard to get talent, or folks talent head into tech companies in the private sector? Is it a challenge to recruit and retain? Where is the DoD on this, and then where do you hope to kind of make some movement?
Sure. Within my portfolio, I'll say that I'm in some of the early stages of discussions around this very topic. We need to continue to be agile, understanding that we have a current focus on a lot of variety of legacy type systems and methods. But at the same time, there is a future fight moving forward, and it is going to be much more innovative. It may be much more tech based. And we need to do what we can to ensure that our recruitment techniques fall in line with what we're seeing in greater society in terms of, well, how are these opportunities for the success that individuals can have in the military and serving in the Department of Defense? Well, how are they presented vis-a-vis going into a tech sector or going into private business in some other capacity? So a lot of that is to all say that there's a lot of ongoing discussion around this and around how we target minority recruits and how we target women. How I went through the military myself. As you know, I'm a West Point graduate. My father was a veteran, and my grandfather was a veteran. So understanding the truth of the matter for people of color is often a path to upward mobility. Within American society, whenever you do serve in the military, and it provides opportunities that otherwise we often, quite frankly, have not had an opportunity, have not had the chance to see. Not to use opportunity 1,000 times in one sentence, but it really drives that's all to say. There's a lot of opportunity here, and we want to make sure that people are aware that it exists and how they can be a part of it, and it could absolutely continue to change lives. So we're continuing to think through that and having conversations here in the building about it.
So give us a quick thing. It's been a couple of months now, and new administration, new secretary, you're new in the role. What are some of the immediate things that have already taken place, whether it's reversing the trans ban, sexual assault issues? What has already been done, and then what's in the pipeline for the next 6 to 12 months?
Sure. Yeah, you're a well-read up gentleman. So yesterday,
I drink a lot of coffee.
Yesterday we had the official launch of the Independent Review Commission on Sexual Assault and Sexual Harassment. The secretary and the deputy were joined by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, as well as the chairperson of the commission itself, Lynn Rosenthal, and all of the commissioners. You're going to hear more about that continuing in the coming days. There have been some reports about it, but look, the secretary and the deputy and the chair restated their absolute intent that we will rid the military and the department of this type of egregious behavior when it comes to sexual assault and sexual harassment, and they really push that their intent and their guidance forward, understanding that this is very much an independent commission that are going to go and do their work and come back and provide recommendations to the president and to the secretary about how we should smartly move forward on that. So that's one piece. You mentioned the transgender ban. We are in the process of reviewing the policies and making sure that we're in accordance with the executive order provided by the White House on the ban. But we're literally having meetings today, this week, about that precise point next week. So you'll hear more from DoD about that in the next few weeks. And then next is, as we've already discussed thoroughly, is extremism. Here within the next couple of weeks, we're going to be rolling out some very specific information about our fight against extremism and our fight to ensure that the department and its personnel are properly protected on a number of levels. Excuse me. So, and that's all just in the next 2 weeks. We have a lot coming out, and then definitely we have some DEI, some diversity and equity and inclusion initiatives that will be presented. We've recently established a DoD equity team that I lead, that is going to take the lead on a lot of issues pertaining to an executive order around diverse and equitable treatment. So more to come. I know folks are really clamoring for a lot more information, but we're moving as quickly as we can, ensuring that we're being smart, thorough, and efficient. You have to move methodically whenever you're dealing with a lot of these types of issues in an organization of this size and magnitude. So all of that is to say more to come. I ask that people continue to watch the news, put out some Google alerts. You're going to start seeing and hearing more about what we're doing here internally very shortly.
That's great. So with any organization, you seek help wherever you can get it. How do you and the secretary approach private sector engagement? I mean, what can the private sector do to help you in your efforts, whether it's on diversity and inclusion, with recruitment and retention, with innovation? I mean, how do you think about that, right? Like, these things don't operate in silos, and they shouldn't, right? We should take best practices across all the sectors in this country, for the greater good.
Absolutely. Well, for myself, I've been going out, having some listening sessions, a listening tour. I've had nearly 24 conversations, particularly on my end with the civil society. So really speaking to a lot of nonprofits and experts, both in extremism as well as in diversity, equity, inclusion, about what some of the best practices are right now. I do my best to always leave my door and inbox open, for which sometimes the inbox fills up, and it takes me a little bit of time to go through it and answer questions or requests or specific points about any particular issues that are taking place. But to your point, I think you're exactly right. If we're going to be innovative, if we're going to be smart and efficient about addressing a lot of these concerns, there are some best practices out in the non-government world. So both in the nonprofit sector and in the private sector, that really hit the nail on the head with some of these issues and tasks that we're dealing with and attempting to address. So I've been doing my best to have these types of conversations in which I hear from business leaders and individuals very generally about, this is the way we handled this particular issue. Maybe you should consider X, Y, and Z. And that's also understanding that we have certain sensitivities in the way we have to deal with business relationships specifically. Sure. So I'm not running afoul of any law, policy, or regulation whenever I'm a little disclaimer there, whenever I'm engaging in these types of conversations. But it's really about a lot of good, honest, earnest people that want to ensure that they're doing what they can to be supportive of us, to be quite frank. A lot of these conversations come from a very good place from people, and they're and I've been very appreciative of the inputs that I've received so far. And these conversations are ongoing, particularly with me and civil society, with a lot of these various groups. I'm making sure that it's not a one-off, that it's becoming connective tissue to help me give the best advice to the secretary and the deputy that I can.
So in an extension of that, we just had a question come in from Mike Sistak, talking about educational institutions. Biden administration is one of the most pro-HBCU administrations. What plans does DoD have to strengthen research partnerships with minority serving institutions and to really grow a national STEM workforce? What do you think about it?
Yeah, so I will say that the specifics of that I'll have to come back to you on, but that we were actually in a meeting yesterday when this exact topic about building out STEM and innovation through university interaction came up. I know that for the White House, it is an absolute priority. So thereby is going to be one of our priorities as well. I think my parents were both HBCU graduates of SC State. I've already met a couple of HBCU grads here in the building that are very interested to know more about what we're doing too. So it's really more to come as we continue to kind of build out some of these new initiatives that's really going to take us some time to build out. I'll tell you right now, I've been in the building back now. I think this is week 7 or 8. So it's taken some time just to level set and get a baseline on a lot of these things before we can move out too quickly. But that is very much something that's in the conversation and looking to start building out recommendations in weeks and rather than months or even like a year's time.
So look, before we let you go, obviously a lot of what we talked about today has been internal to the building, morale, culture, recruitment, retention, workforce. Just taking a step back, obviously, DoD, you're focused on external threats to the United States. Yes. What do you and the Secretary see as the primary kind of threats to national security that you're keeping the closest eye on, just at a high level?
Yeah, so I speaking to different people, you'll probably get a variety of answers on that. I try to only speak to my own portfolio because we know that our relationships with countries like China and Russia tend to be at the top of the list. Our alliances are with our longstanding partners, our membership in groups like NATO, for instance, are continuing to be some of our top concerns and priorities. The Secretary just returned from a trip from Indo-Pac, in which he went and spoke to individuals. Again, in Alaska, we were speaking to the Chinese government, and the Secretary met with officials from India. So there is a variety of things at any particular given time. We'll set that as the baseline here. For me, again, as we speak internationally, I am concerned potentially about transnational threats vis-a-vis extremism. Understanding where these groups have influence and how is going to be of top concern. Having things like social media, the internet that are playing into a large part of this that know no national borders and give, especially when all of us are at home and in our homes almost 24/7 in some cases, and our access to the outer world is through online content. So that's kind of on the international side where my focus is right now. But I think there is no shortage of international and foreign threats and concerns that are facing us right now.
Yeah, excellent. Well, look, on that note, I want to thank you for making the time, for being open to having a virtual coffee with us today. We're so excited about your new role, and I just want to wish you congratulations and good luck on it. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today on our 1-year anniversary with Bishop Garrison. Next week on Coffee with Ken, we're going to discuss purpose plus profit, ESG, corporate social responsibility, and social impact. In the meantime, practice social distancing, wash your hands, and wear a mask. Bishop, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. Great to meet you.
Stay well. Take care.
Have a good day.